months. It is going to be very challenging for everybody to make a contribution. So, Senator Daly, do you need your full 8 minutes?
I do, and I'm sharing time with my colleague Senator Terry Layden, if that's okay.
You're sharing time, 4 and 4. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, perfect.
And I'd like to welcome the Minister to the House, and I do want to thank the Minister for all his work on this issue, and his visits to the region, his understanding of the complex nature of it is beyond question. He does have a good grasp, as he's pointed out, of the issues that face the Palestinian people when it comes to the issue of settlements and the ongoing issue of the occupation in the West Bank and the issues in the Gaza Strip. In 1980, Ireland was the first state to call for the establishment of a Palestinian state. We were on our own. Nobody else was supporting it. Nobody thought it at the time. And we were seen to be out there, ahead of the European Union, ahead of everybody else in the world, and leading the way. And now we see the ongoing issue of settlements, where when Ronald Reagan first became president, there were 40,000 illegal settlers in the West Bank. Now there are nearly 500,000. Things are not getting worse. What the Minister is talking about, and I commend him in relation to the issue of the port, but that can be turned off at any time. What we're talking about here is improving the condition for the prisoners when they shouldn't be prisoners at all. They should be released from the captivity that they are currently suffering in the Holy Land. The Knesset is now putting a bill through that the full annexation of these settlements would be recognised. Does that sound like anybody's trying to make things better? And I know what the Minister is doing in relation to the port, the scholarships, the solar energy project. I was in Washington in the last time that the Gaza Strip was attacked during the firing of rockets from Gaza into Israel and the consequent response and the levelling of every possible piece of infrastructure in Gaza. Water pumps, treatment plants, sewage treatment plants, factories, schools, hospitals, levelled. And that's what will happen again. I know what the Minister is saying about the politics of this, but the practicalities of this is a peace process requires 4 fundamental points. It needs both sides having a hurting stalemate. That is not happening. It needs an independent outside actor. The EU won't even invoke its own civil rights clause, humanitarian rights clause, in Article 4 of the Euromed Agreement. Why doesn't the European Union invoke in the Euromed Agreement between the European Union and Israel the human rights clause and say there has been a breach of human rights? Could the Minister answer that question? Why has the European Union not even invoked its own laws in relation to human rights between its agreement between the EU and Israel? And it also needs to ensure that there are no third parties acting as outside agitators, which of course is happening in Israel, and you need to ensure that the timing is correct. None of the 4 elements that are required for a peace process exist in the Middle East. None of them. We had all 4 of them in the Good Friday Agreement 20 years ago. None of it exists in Israel. What the Minister is asking us to do is, in relation to Gaza, is improving the condition for people when their conditions are getting worse exponentially by the day. They are getting way worse every day. And the Oslo Accord, for anyone who knows the detail of it, was a disastrous solution in itself. Most 40% of the West Bank was not going to be controlled by the Palestinian people. But that was the accord that was there. It's a lot. Now that would be a lot better than what they're going through at the moment. And we have letters from the Knesset and Arab Palestinian members of the Knesset asking us to put this bill through. They're on the ground. They're asking for something, because something is a lot better than nothing. Thank you.
And welcome the Minister to the House, and I know that he's very concerned and interested in this issue. I'm well aware of that. And just to say that I actually established with about 100 people in this House, Friends of Palestine in the Oireachtas in 2002-2003, chaired by then Deputy Michael D. Higgins, now President, and we went to Palestine with my colleagues at the time, Eamon Gilmore, John Gormley TD, late Tony Gregory, Angus O'Shnoddy, John Paul Phelan, and indeed myself, who led the delegation. We witnessed firsthand the effects of the settlements. We witnessed firsthand raw sewage being poured into the occupied territories onto small farms. That's a fact. We know the situation in Gaza. But the point is this the right way to exert influence in the settlement of the problem in the region? And just bear in mind, as a former Minister for Trade and Marketing, where I went to the Islamic Republic of Iran and I went to a lot of countries promoting trade in this country. And by the way, boycotts are a two-edged sword. Remember that. And if you boycott here, you can boycott the Crimea, any goods from Crimea, which is also occupied by the Russian. You can also boycott goods from Cyprus, which is occupied by Turkey. You can also boycott all goods from China, which occupied Tibet. And Ukraine is also involved, and Northern Ireland is also occupied as well. So we can go down that road very easily. But just to make this point, in 2017, we exported $868 million worth of goods to Israel. We imported $63 million worth of goods from Israel. They're the facts that I have at my disposal at the moment. And the World Bank have also said that about 1.6 billion over the years have been exported. So bear that in mind. The repercussions are serious. Boycotts are serious. I don't recall a bill here when South Africa had apartheid. The boycott was carried out by the workers in Dunnes Stores and followed up by the public. And I certainly would boycott products coming from occupied territories sold by the Israelis and the international market. But that's a different thing for a state to actually involve itself directly in this area. So I advise caution, and like the Minister, my heart will be behind this because I was there. I witnessed the situation firsthand. The Minister has witnessed themselves. We weren't allowed into Gaza, which is a fully prison, an open prison. We have no doubt what's happening in that region. But you lose your influence. If you bring a boycott in, you lose your influence whatsoever to go to Israel and make the point to the Israeli government what you feel. We can continue the argument in that regard. By the way, just to say that this bill, with all this respect and all support that will be offered this afternoon, the likelihood, I'm trying to get a bill here, a private member's bill here for about 10 years, has been failed. So I wouldn't give it to Senator Francis Black. I wouldn't bet your dollars that this bill will ever see the light of day, will ever become actual legislation. Let's be quite clear about that, because it's a very slow process in this House. Very few bills get through for a private member's bill, and it will be. There is a question about the legality. There's a question about our responsibility under European Union law, and I know the Attorney General, which I respect, has given particular advice in this particular regard. So basically, I'm issuing that health warning in this particular regard. I'm very concerned about the effect this could have on jobs in this country, and we need every job possible. We're facing a terrible dilemma in relation to Brexit. We can ill afford at this point another trade war with another in a country that is legitimately elected. And we are in favour of the two-state solution. And the late Brian Lenihan was the first minister in this country and in Europe to bring forward the right of Palestinian self-determination and a right for their own country. Thank you very much.
Control of Economic Activity, Occupied Territories Bill 2018, second stage resumed. This is private member's business. The question is again that the bill be now read a second time. I must remind senators that there are 15 minutes in total left in this debate. Senator Francis Black is entitled to 5 of those minutes to reply to the debate, as she is the proposer of the bill. And the Minister has already spoken, so I want to check out now. People who have spoken already cannot speak again. Sorry. Senator Layden is offering. Is there somebody else offering on this side? No. I can take Senator Layden for 5. Hold on now. There are 15 minutes. Senator Black will have 5 of them to conclude. Who's offering? Who hasn't spoken already? Well, Senator Layden is offering. Senator Layden has not spoken already. He's not on my list. He spoke on statements. He did not speak on the bill. I have a list here. You shouldn't be challenging the chair like that. Senator Layden. Are you offering to speak?
I am.
You can speak.
Thank you, sir.
You can speak.
Just to say again, on behalf of the Fianna Fáil party, we are supporting the bill. We have decided at our parliamentary party that the bill had merit in the situation to send a message to Israel that we are not satisfied with the developments in Palestine. We're not impressed by the oppression of the Palestinians, the way they're being treated. They're being treated like dirt in their own country. And we in this country have experienced ourselves how we were treated. So we are acting in this regard because of the situation, because our long commitment. No other party has worked harder than Fianna Fáil in relation to the resolution of the Palestinian issue. It was Brian Lenihan Sr. that stood alone of all the other ministers in the European Union and said, we want to recognise the right of the Palestinians for self-determination. At that stage it was not popular with the other European Union members. But Brian Lenihan was a visionary. The late Brian Lenihan was a visionary minister. And I want to recommend to our minister now, I know his heart is there. I know he's doing his absolute utmost in that area. And he's a courageous minister and went to Gaza with Senator Norris, and I must commend Senator Norris for one of the most emotional speeches I've ever heard in this House since I came here 16 years ago. And I commend it because of its genuine sincerity that you've displayed over a very, very long time and the commitment you've made to the people of Palestine. And I want to also recognise the work of Michael Lanigan, Senator, who was one of the most active members of this House in relation to the cause. Very good. I'm delighted with that. And I'm very proud as well that when we organised here in this House the Friends of Palestine, there was no other country received the same support in the House of Oireachtas from all parties and none. And I'm very proud of the work of Michael D. Higgins, who was chairman of that committee and whose courage was evident from the times he went to Palestine and went into that region. And I wish him well on his re-election as President of Ireland. And I'm very proud to have seconded his proposal at the Fianna Fáil party. I'm very proud to have him there. I'm very proud to expound the human rights and his rights. A man that was prepared to fly to Baghdad with me on the eve of the battle and the eve of the war at their own risk and their own lives, and they worked in South Africa, America and elsewhere. So I want to say I'm very privileged to have worked with him, and I'm also privileged to be lectured by him as an extramural student for 2 years in politics and sociology. So I have a long connection with our President. And I want to say finally that our record is second to none. And Fianna Fáil, in a unanimous decision of the Fianna Fáil party last Tuesday week, made that decision, and we stand by the decision, and we're supporting this bill here in this House today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.